Oh, wait, hold up. Ah, there we go. Hey, this is Five of Clubs, and welcome to another episode of Simpleton Solos, a series in which a Simpleton plays one of his favorite board games. After my journey to deep space in Deep Space D6, I was apparently promoted to oversee operations of the intergalactic Starfleet. Strange, I don't remember applying for such a position. Stranger still, my first order of leadership business is to polish the entirety of the station. But far be it from me to turn down the opportunity to help, so here I am a-scrubbin'. Oh hey, there's the Board of Generals for the Intergalactic Starfleet over there. I've never seen them out and about like this, with them always being so busy and all. I still can't believe they're my co-workers now. I'm not even sure I'll ever overcome the habit of saluting them as my superior officers. That's odd. It seems they're heading for the escape pods. And that's even more odd. They seem to be climbing into the escape pods. Have they been tasked with manual chores like I was? I know we have a lot of troops off base for extended vacations, but I never thought I'd see the day when men of their rank would be reduced to the menial task of inspecting the escape pods. Why did they leave the station? Something's wrong. I better go to the bridge and see what I can do. Computer, what's the meaning of this alarm?
Warning. Scouting fleet in attack formation detected near the base. Calculations indicate them to be the forward part of a larger inbound assault force.
Oh dear. Surely there's some misunderstanding. Computer, hail the comms.
Cannot comply. Our free trial of Space Skype has expired. Would you like to sign up for the premium business subscription?
Drat. I don't have the fleet's payment details yet. Computer, prep our scout fleet to investigate. Then send out alerts to all battle stations to prep their ships for dispatch.
Affirmative, Commander Clubs.
I've got a bad feeling about this. It seems a battle is about to begin, but let's quickly review the basic aspects of the game before we get into the thick of things. Star Realms is a competitive deck-building game that tasks players with destroying their opponent's main base to achieve victory. For those unsure of what a deck-building game is, it's simply a game genre term that denotes a game's core mechanic of deck progression and management. To give a comparative example of what you may have seen on the channel already, the card game Friday is something of a deck-building game as well, where the player's deck starts out the same, but changes throughout the course of the game through acquisition and removal of cards from that deck. At the start of the game, each player begins with a shuffled deck of 10 cards, hosting 8 Scout cards and 2 Viper cards. Players will take turns playing cards from their hand to redeem on-card effects, usually allowing them to deal damage to enemy targets and generate spendable currency. For example, each of these Viper cards grants the player 1 point of damage to assign to an enemy target, and each of these Scouts grants the player 1 point of currency, which I will henceforth refer to as Space Bucks. Space Bucks are used to buy cards from the market at the center of the board, which is populated with 5 cards randomly revealed from a shuffled market deck, and a static side deck of Explorer cards. Each card from the market deck will have a listed price in the top corner of the card, which notates the required amount of Space Bucks needed to acquire that card. Whenever you acquire new cards, you put them into your discard pile, which will eventually reshuffle to form your new deck and grant you access to that card going forward. Market cards grant different abilities and features that boost your deck's potential. Thankfully, most of the game's effects are communicated via intuitive iconography, or the Simpleton would be hopelessly lost. Let's review 1 or 2 market cards from top to bottom, shall we? This Corvette card has a cost of 2, meaning that we would have to generate and spend 2 Space Bucks to acquire this card from the market. When played, this card generates 1 point of damage for us to apply to an enemy target, as indicated by this red 1 icon here. This card also gives us access to a special ability, allowing us to draw an extra card when this card is played. Here's another one, a bit more expensive but a bit more powerful too. This flagship card costs 6 space bucks, but generates 5 points of damage and allows you to draw an extra card when it's played. Yowza. But wait, what are those other sections underneath? Great question. Those are extra effects that you can trigger. Some of you may have noticed that there are colored suits in this game: blue, yellow, red, and green. If a card has its suit icon next to an effect or symbol, that effect is only triggered if another card of its suit is in play. Looking back at our Corvette from earlier, I would get to use this extra damage down here if I played a second yellow suit card in this hand of cards. And if the second yellow suit card has its own suit ability underneath, it would be triggered also. As such, it can be advantageous to look for market cards and matching suits to trigger those bonus abilities. After a few rounds, your deck will grow in its capacity to lay the smackdown on enemy forces, but your opponent will have increased their arsenal in kind. At the start of the game, you are generally only capable of dealing an average of 1 to 2 damage at a time, but after things get rolling, you start dealing 3 to 8 damage in a turn, and late game you could be dealing anywhere from 15 to 35 damage if you've optimized your deck, sometimes more, which ends the game rather quickly, as you can imagine. It's an arms race, more or less, with you trying to outbuild your opponent and ultimately reduce their base's HP to 0. This might seem like a lot to swallow at first, but after a few hands of play, it should become pretty intuitive. In its simplest form, you just play cards and do what they tell you to do. That's about the gist of it. Now enough with the gobbledygook. Let's check back in on Commander Clubs now that the rules of engagement have been set. Scout Squadron, status report.
Red 10 standing by.
Red 7 standing by.
Red 3 standing by. Red 6 standing by.
Red 9 standing by.
Red 2 standing by.
Red 11 standing by.
Red 5 standing by.
Lock air spoils in attack position.
Today, in lieu of a physical opponent for today's playthrough, I'll be playing against the most sinister foe there is.
You can defeat me, Scott. But can you defeat yourself?
Mega Scott.
No, not myself. I'm referring to the timeless tale of man versus machine, the computer in the Star Realms digital app set to the hardest difficulty versus me. Sometimes the AI makes strange decisions, but it also seems to revel in mocking you with unnecessary overkill too.
I want every gun we have to fire on that man. Do it.
Stop! He's already dead!
Overall though, I must say that the official digital app is a fantastic implementation of Star Realms, hosting near parity with the physical version's many expansions, including multiple boss fights and even campaign play, and maintaining a very reasonable price point to boot. Also, it's one of the few digital board games to carry over content purchases between mobile and PC versions, meaning that you only have to buy the stuff once instead of buying it on both platforms. 5 of Clubs greatly approves. Alrighty, we are ready to engage in our epic space battle. Now you can see here, this is the digital version of Star Realms as I alluded to, and it looks like I have a lot of the modules and expansions unlocked, but for the sake of this playthrough, I thought it might be a bit too much going on in the game if I had all the bells and whistles running, so we're actually going to play with just the core set for this playthrough, but for other playthroughs, since the game is so short, maybe I'll toggle on a few of those to show off the different changes that come through. And, of course, on Simpleton Solos, we are not chumps. We're playing with the core set, but that's no excuse to play on easy. We are going to be playing on hard today, because we are hardcore gamers. Alright, let's start the game, and we will get going. Excuse me. Alrighty, looks like we get the first turn, meaning that we have a starting hand of 3 cards. Normally the hand size in this game is 5, but so as not to grant a huge boon to whoever goes first, the first player has a lower starting hand size. So whereas I get 3, the other player would get 5, and it'd be 5 going forward from there. Okay, now we have 2 scouts here, which are going to offer me 1 space dollar apiece, and we have 1 point of damage. Let's play all of those, and here you can see it tallies up however much currency you've generated, and the amount of damage you're able to do. So let's deal 1 point of damage to his main base, bringing him from 50 to 49. And we have a few different options here that we can buy from. But first, I guess I'll explain a few things. This stack of cards on the far left is a static stack of cards that will always be available throughout the game. You have an option of spending 2 currency to buy a card and add to your discard pile, which will shuffle into your deck, and when it's played thereafter, will generate you 2 points of currency. Additionally, you might see there's this little waste bin icon down here next to a 2 damage symbol. What's that about? Well, that is an indication to the player that you are able to destroy that card. In a term in this game, it's called scrap a card. You could scrap this card to deal 2 additional damage, and scrapping removes the card from the game and thereby from your deck. Well, so some of you might be wondering, well, that seems kind of silly. Why would you destroy your own card? Well, actually, there's a very good reason. You have a 10-card deck here that is filled with all these starter cards, but as you add more and more of these cards to it, that deck's going to grow. And as the challenge and rigor of the game proceeds, you're going to get to the point where you want to be drawing your power cards with a decent level of consistency, if not drawing full hands of power cards. And with all of these sorts of things clogging up the deck and being in the way, while they seem essential at the start of the game, they quickly lose their shine when you're wanting to draw these cards together. So the only way to get rid of those cards from your deck is to use scrapping abilities. So this one would allow you to scrap the card itself, but then you might be wondering, well, then how do you scrap these starting cards as the game goes on? Indeed. So each of the colored factions in the game, you see 3 of them represented here. There are 4 in the whole game. The red one is the one that's not present. And the red one just so happens to be the faction that specializes in getting rid of cards from your deck. You are able to scrap cards generally from your hand or your discard pile, removing them from the game, and thereby decreasing the size of your deck into a more robust engine, so to speak. So red faction cards tend to be my favorite for that functional purpose, because I have found that the greatest success that I experience in the game tends to come from the fact that I stay ahead of the opponent as far as getting these old and starter cards out of the way and drawing massive hands of power cards. This blue faction here is the Trade Federation. No, not that Trade Federation. But these guys tend to specialize in healing and currency grantings, and you can see 3 good examples actually in this case. This one would heal you for the amount indicated in the green symbol, which as you can see matches the symbol of my starting base. So if I played this card, I would get 4 health points, 2 currency, and if I played it with another card that is also blue, I would be able to activate 4 damage. So if I played these 2 cards together, this card would allow me to use that 4, and this card would allow this card over here to heal for 4 and get the 2 that it already does. And this card over here is super amazing. I hope he doesn't buy it, but I'm pretty sure he will. The next faction is going to be the green Blob faction. These are the alien faction, and they represent, their abilities are sort of representative of kind of swarm, chaos, and destruction, right? So in this case, this is one of the more expensive cards, costing 7, but it grants you 6 points of damage. You get to draw a card, and if you play another Blob, you would draw another card, meaning you could potentially get 2 card draws from this card alone. And other Blob cards, I'll just go ahead and tell you, happen to sometimes have draw a card abilities on that, so you could be triggering them left and right. Additionally, they have the unique ability to destroy cards from the trade row here. So it's kind of a spiteful thing to do, admittedly, but they fight a little dirty, and I kind of respect them for that. Basically, the reason you'd want to use that, if it's like, oh, that's a card that's good, I can't afford it, but I definitely don't want my opponent to have it. I think I'm going to remove it from the game so that he doesn't get it. And that's basically what it's all about. Sabotage, so to speak. But not full sabotage. The true masters of sabotage are the Star Empire cards in the yellow faction. They tend to... This is not a good card to show this, but a lot of their cards are about deck manipulation, so to speak. They allow you to cause your opponent to have to discard cards and allows you to draw additional cards yourself, which is pretty neat. And I think that's all of the factions. The only other thing to cover is you might notice that this card is a bit strange. It's on its side. Well, that's because there are two main types of cards in the game. We have these upright cards here, upright orientation. These are ship cards, and ship cards generally depict a spaceship on the art, as you can see. Additionally, they tend to work in such a way that you play them from your hand, they do their effect, and at the end of the turn they go to your discard pile to shuffle into your deck again and eventually come back out later. This sideways card right here is what's known as a base card. This is a card that when it's played, it will go and actually stay in play right over here, and will offer you a benefit that you get to use once per turn. Your turn, of course. So this one, for instance, once per turn, I would be able to redeem 3 additional attack points for as long as this base is in play and I continue to use that effect. Very cool. Well, now how long does it stay in play? Well, it technically stays in play until such a time as something or someone removes it. So in a case like this, you might see there's this number and the black shield. You can sort of think of that as the base's health. It has 4 health points, meaning that you would have to deal 4 points of damage assigned to this base to get rid of it. Now, that doesn't remove it from the game. That only sends it to the opponents, or whoever owns it. It only sends it to their discard pile. So it'll come back out later, but at least it's not contributing that once per turn bonus during that time. There's one other base type that's not represented here. I'll cover it if we see one during the game, but that's sort of the gist of it. And of course, they each have one of these symbols here, so they will also be able to trigger those faction symbol abilities. So let us go ahead and spend our 2 points of currency. We could buy an explorer, but that's sort of a waste when you look at this cutter here. It costs the same, it generates this, but also gives you a heal of 4 and a potential for 4 damage. So I'm going to buy that cutter right there. And we spent our currency, we have no attack, let's end our turn, let the enemy go. And yep, he's going pretty fast, so I'm not going to be able to follow it as far as verbally explain everything he's up to, especially when a lot of stuff starts triggering. So, all right, we have 4 space bucks to spend. We have 1 point of damage. Let's hit him for that. He actually left this freighter here, which is a blue faction ship. And you may recall that we just bought a blue faction ship, so those two would combo together well. And 4 currency, even when it's not comboing with something, is excellent. Ah, and look at that. There's that freighter right there. Perfect. So we are going to have 7 points of currency this round. 1 point of damage. Okay, of course. Oh my, with 7, we could go ahead and buy that mothership right there, giving us 6 points of damage and a draw card. I'm heavily tempted to do it. Let's do it. Why not? Get 1 power card in there. The other thing I would have maybe got is this card right here, but I think he's going to leave it. Yep, he sure does. All right, he is actually causing us to discard a card. He played one of the yellow factions with a discard card ability, so I have to discard 1 card. Let's discard a scout. We're going to have 5 currency to spend here. We heal for 4, bringing us back up into a tie. With 5 points of currency, let's start by getting another blue ship, because we are enjoying those. Let's get this trade bot. Also, this red, you can see here, it would generate 1 currency, and you may scrap a card in hand or discard pile, allowing us to start getting rid of these starter cards to try and get these blues grouped together better. Very good. With 3 points of currency remaining, I'm going to buy this card for 2 currency because it does 1 damage, not a whole lot, but also draws a card. So basically, it's like a free thing. And if it happens to combo with another yellow card, it gets an additional 2 points of damage. And here's something interesting. So you see I have 1 point of currency, but I can't do anything with it. Unfortunately, once you end your turn, any remaining currency or damage is lost. Basically, you only get to use it when you generate it on your turn, and that's it. That's kind of a pretty common thing in deck building games, is that you only do what stuff you generate in the round. I'm not sure where that started or why that's the case. I guess it is kind of fiddly if you have to track it, like if I had to grab like a currency token or a damage token for all the leftovers that I have, and it might lead to something pretty exploitable later. I'm just not sure. But in any case, we have 4 points of currency. Let's go ahead and buy this base right here. And actually, this was the other type of base that I was going to talk about. You may notice this black shield is here versus this silver gray shield here. Well, that's fascinating. They're both bases, but why is there a difference in the color of the shield? Well, because these black shields sort of act like defensive units for your base. Normally, when we've generated points of damage, we've just been plinking each other's main base. But if we were to play any of these bases with that black shield ability, those have to be destroyed before any damage can be assigned to the main base. It's sort of like they're protecting us. So this one, for instance, has an armor value of 6. Someone would have to destroy this thing before being able to assign damage to me if I had it in play, for example. However, these silver shields are not the same in that regard. You do not have to destroy these before assigning damage to the main base, but the longer these things stay out, the longer that person gets to benefit from whatever the ability is offered by that base. So you're not obligated to destroy it first, but it's recommended. Oh my, we just got hit for 14 points of damage. Youch, and we have to discard a card. Oof. Thankfully, though, we got 2 of our blue ships together, which is going to do a number of things for us. One, this blue ship is going to activate this blue ship's ability to heal us for 4, helping us come back from that 14 damage we just took. And this blue ship is going to activate this blue ship's other ability. You may put the next ship you acquire this turn on top of your deck. Normally, it would go into your discard and shuffle in eventually, but this way, we actually get to put it right up at the top, meaning we get immediate access to it on the next turn. And you know what? This is a blue ship, which I generally am a fan of, but if we put this right on top, that's 7 damage and draw a card. And we have yellows in our deck now, so let's go ahead and get that one right there. And now I have 2 points of damage. Well, why won't it let me assign it to him? That's lame. It's because, indeed, he has one of those bases in play that has that shield requisite. Since I don't meet the 4 points of damage to get rid of that shield, unfortunately, the damage I generated this round is wasted. But the same is true in reverse. So if I had set it up in such a way that I had a base in play that he could not destroy with that black shield, the same would be true for me. So it's fair in that regard. Let's go ahead and destroy one of those scouts using our trade bots. We got that scout out of the way. Very good. Ooh, look at this. We have 2 power cards. We have the mothership allowing us to draw a card and the dreadnought allowing us to draw a card. So we're going to draw 2 bonus cards. Excellent. We got a cutter out there. Very good. Healing us just a little bit more. Now, he did 14 damage to us, and we are going to return the favor. 4 of it's going to have to go to his base, but 10 will go to him, bringing the game back into an even split once more. I have 5 currency. Let's go ahead and buy this defense center. It's going to give us that shield value of 5, and it is a blue card, meaning it will trigger the blue effects of the cards that are already in our deck when they come out. So let's do that. Oh, speaking of blue cards, here's another excellent little combo here, and that's going to let us draw 1 card. There we go. Very good. So we now have 8 points of currency. I could even make it 10 if I used this here, but let's take a look at what we have. The next ship gets to go right on top of our deck, and we can afford the command ship. You heal for 4, deal 5 damage, and draw 2 cards, and you could destroy a target base. That's beautiful. So normally, like I had to do up here, I had to do 4 points of damage to get his base out of there. With an effect of you may destroy target base, you don't have to actually deal any of your damage points to a base. You just send it straight to the discard. Very cool. I have to buy this guy. Come on over. All right, and actually, I'm glad I didn't pick yet, because now there's nothing here that I could buy for 2 currency except the Explorer, and at this point in the game, I really don't want Explorers clogging up the deck, so I'll heal for 2. Deal 1 point of damage there, and we'll continue on. All right, looks like I'm going to be... Oh, he ended up destroying that base, even though it is a silver shield. He didn't have to. He ended up, I guess, deciding he didn't want me to keep getting the benefits of having that blue symbol or those once per turn abilities. I have to discard a card. I'm already going to be dealing 5 damage. I guess I can let this one go. Goodbye, Viper. And we have a command ship that's going to let us draw 2 cards, heal for 4, and gives us 5 damage. Ooh, and yes, a cutter letting us heal for 4 more, getting us currency and 4 more damage. So we are dealing 9 points of damage there, and we have 6 points of currency to spend. Let's buy 1 survey ship. It's only going to generate 1 currency, but it allows you to draw a card additionally on top of that. So it's basically a free card in the same way that the other one was. Ooh, and the ram. It's a 3 currency cost, but it deals 5 whopping damage straight out. And then, if you ever play any other green ones with it, it's another 2. I do like that. Let's go ahead and buy that one too. All right. Oh, he got Mech World. Mech World is one of the best bases in the game, in my opinion. That beautiful thing that counts for all factions. Mech World counts as an ally for all factions. My goodness. All right, let's go ahead and play. We get to draw one card. Oop, there we go. And this is going to trigger the ability to put the next card we buy right on top of the deck. And look at that. We could put this Blob carrier right up top, which is 7 whopping points of damage. I think we're going to do it. Very good. We have 7 points of damage we can assign. Let's go ahead and attack that, and we'll put 1 damage here. Now we have to decide whether we want 2 points of currency or 2 health. With the 2 points of currency, we could get another one of these cutter ships. I think that's what we're going to do. There we go. That's been working out for us well so far. Ah, and look at that. That is a beautiful hand right there. All power cards. The whole bit of it. 2 of which are going to allow us to draw cards. Very good. Okay, let's go ahead and play these in a certain order. Draw 1. Very good. Draw 1. Very good. We'll put that out there. We'll put this out there to heal us for 4. We'll go ahead and play this trade bot to destroy one of those scouts. We have 7 more damage. We're dealing 19 points of damage. Boom! Very good. And we have 4 space bucks. And look at this. Another beautiful freighter. Come to Papa.
This is getting out of hand. Now there are 2 of them.
Yes, and we get to decide whether to heal for 3 or do 2 more damage. Let's do 2 more damage. We have a pretty healthy life lead, but one of the largest mistakes that I make in this game is I start thinking, oh, I have a massive lead, I'm good. And then the AI unloads and does like a 40 damage attack or something wild like that. So don't count your chickens before they hatch in this game. Definitely don't. So it looks like he's going to destroy my base, do 3 damage to me. Alright, we're going to play the mothership, which will let us draw a card. We're going to play the command ship, which lets us draw 2 more cards. We're going to play the survey ship to let us draw another card. And we're going to play all of that stuff. We have 11 points of currency, but we have 20 points of damage here. My goodness. So I'm not even going to bother buying cards because he has 10 health left. So let's just go ahead and put him out of his misery, shall we?
Now this is pod racing.
We have won. Excellent. And look at that. We even managed to get above our starting health value of 50 by the end of the game. Whereas he's at minus 10. And that, my friends, was Star Realms. The beautiful thing about the game, I think, is that you start on pretty similar footing, but the way that the game goes is different each time. So like this time around, I didn't get rid of that many cards from my deck, but I just healed so heavily and was able to control the market so well that even though I didn't get rid of a lot of my starting cards, it didn't really matter. But in other games where the healing cards aren't so plentiful, maybe you have to destroy more of those things, the starting cards, to be able to get your stuff to trigger more frequently and make your health count that much more. And additionally, when you're not explaining every one of your turns, like I was here for the sake of the video, on my phone when I play this, I can knock out a game in 4.5 to 5 minutes. Sometimes even shorter than that. It's very, very, very quick gameplay. So even when you lose, even if you lose hard like that, like if I was on the receiving end of that, which I have been for sure in other games, it's not a crippling defeat. It's like, okay, I'm ready to go again, you know, and you're ready to go. Additionally, I did just want to elaborate a little bit more on this app here, because I'm not sure I said exactly enough of just how great it is. One, it's incredibly cheap, and this is my favorite bit of it. There is a massive series of campaigns here, each built in with different missions with sort of these little win credentials. You could get like the base win, or you can go and push yourself to accomplish the additional win conditions. And there's boss battles and various other things, and there's apparently some sort of story. I haven't admittedly read it, but maybe it's good for all I know. I'm not quite sure. But this stuff is not in the physical version of the game, so I have to give mad props to them for creating all of this content for you to enjoy in a solo oriented perspective. So I definitely appreciate that. Although, of course, you can play online and you can do pass and play. So, you know, if you want to, you're waiting for your dinner or whatever at a restaurant, you can play with your spouse or whoever's there. You know, I think, honestly, they really went above and beyond with this app. I love the graphics. The music, actually, though you may not be able to hear it in this recording because I turned it way down, I kind of like it. I know it's not, you know, it's not Star Wars. It's not like Star Trek. It's not one of these things. But actually, it's kind of zen in a way. And it makes me feel relaxed while playing sometimes what could be very stressful. I'll definitely going to circle back for this for future content. Maybe we'll do some of the boss battles and things just to showcase what they are and how they work, because those get pretty intense. But at least this time around, the hard AI had nothing to offer us. It was a puny resistance toward the massive military might of the Commander Club's army. Thank you all for watching. I really appreciate it, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the next video.